Welcome to Media in the Mix, the only podcast produced and hosted by the School of Communication at American University. Join us as we create a safe space to explore topics and communication at the intersection of social justice, tech, innovation, and pop culture. So, welcome back to Media in the Mix. Today we have SOC Junior Lindsey McCormack, and also a film and media arts student, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So, Lindsey, tell us a little bit about yourself before we start to talk about why we're here.
So, as it's been said, I am a film and media arts student here at American University. I also have a creative writing minor in CAS. I run the American U Girl Dolls account. I have a love for American Girl Dolls since my childhood, and I also love social media and marketing and graphic design. So kind of creating that account is just a culmination of all those things.
Can you give us a little example of what these posts are for people that may not know?
Okay, so for people who don't know, this account is I'm essentially taking American Girl Dolls and turning them into American University students, finding a common ground kind of between the brands and things that happen at both American University and among the dolls. An example of a post I did was where the American U Girl Dolls are studying abroad. And I used actual places you can study abroad at American University. So if you go here and you want to know some places you can study abroad, the American Girl Dolls have got you. Molly, for example, is going to King's College in London, so she can meet back up with Emily.
Awesome. So it's informational at the
It's
same
informational.
time.
And then I also just do little tidbit posts where it's a conversation that the American Girl Doll's having. They're saying something.
Yeah, we saw, I think one of the very first ones I saw was just on the quad enjoying the day. So I love that there's that simplicity of, just.
Those are more so me speaking through the account than anything else. But I think it's fun.
Can you just kind of dive deep, or we were talking about this a little before the episode, but why the American Girl Dolls?
I just have a childhood love and appreciation for American Girl Dolls. Definitely a very, very big interest of me growing up. So I know a lot about them and I know a lot about the brand, and I've kind of just fall back in love with them every few years. And I love history and all of that. And I also go here and I observe things, and there was things, I wanted to talk about just American university culture. And I was saw some of these American girl doll meme accounts getting big this past summer, and I was what if I just did that? I was bored. I was what if I made this but for American University, because there's so many things you could just apply to American Girl Dolls. There's a pun in the name. Some American Girl Dolls are very wonky, and by wonky I mean political wonks. So I just.
That's awesome. And when you first started compared to where you're at now, how has it changed? Do you have a lot of engagement from students at AU? Do you feel you've gotten more visibility now?
I've definitely gotten more visibility. I think it grew pretty fast, though, because I started in July, August, and by time October, November had rolled around, I had over 500 followers. So it definitely grew fast. It is interesting, though, just I'm on this podcast. You guys have really big SOC professors on here, cool alumni, and it's just me.
No, this idea is very cool because we love it. It's so creative and it's super fun. Do you feel there's this vehicle for humor that helps that engagement?
Yeah, I think it's a really good vehicle for humor, and it's also you can apply humor to fun things at AU and things that people like to make fun of. Just some of the things that happen here are very, very specific to this school. But then there's also if there's important issues going on at the school, it is an interesting way to be able to raise awareness to these issues without making the same infographic or the same Instagram story that everybody else is making, because people engage with it and spread it. So it is, I think, also a platform that I feel if I want to raise a awareness to something going on at AU, I can do that. And I think that has been widely kind of appreciated by some of the people who are raising these issues at American University.
In your dream world, where would you want to take it?
In my dream world, I think I just want to grow it until, I mean, I inevitably graduate next spring. So I probably, I probably won't continue this account after I graduate, but I want it to be used kind of as a portfolio of sorts after I leave. I am using it in my cover letters for internships this summer. I'm like, side note, social media experience. I have that.
Yeah.
So I think it's just like future wise, I want to grow it. I want to be able to, maybe make some more collaborations with AU organizations. I want to make more relatable things, maybe raise awareness to more things going on around AU, and just kind of like also build up my portfolio in it like that, in terms of like, self-interested things I could do with the account.
Awesome. Yeah. Do you want to would you pass it down, or would you kind of just be like a portfolio piece?
I wouldn't pass it down, I don't think, because it's kind of like my baby and I have like a specific image for it. So I think once I graduate, I'll do a little farewell post. I think Kirsten might have to come to graduation with me.
Well, what if you made it now you're out in the working world, and it's like the next phase of life?
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know where I'm going to be at in May 2024.
Years going by so fast. That's great. And when you say you're mentioning it in cover letters, is it just social media experience? Do you bring in your writing aspect? Because I mean, to come up with clever lines like that.
Yeah, I word it as something you know how you talk in cover letters. It's not natural. I'm like, I combine the brands to turn American girl dolls into American university students by doing X, Y, and Z, and I just adjust it to whatever job I'm applying to and what skills are necessarily, and then it would help me because I've been used these skills. Social media marketing experience, I use it for graphic design experience, I use it for writing experience, I use it for, it's a good way to show my associate built skills.
Yeah. And the proactivity of it all.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's do you spend a lot more time than you thought on it? Or is it just kind of I'm doing this for fun?
I spent a lot more time on it, I think, before the school year started. But now, when I think of a post, I will make it, or I'll be I want to post this week, and I'll come up with something. But because I'm a junior, it is hard to spend a lot of time on it. But I do put time into each post that I make, and I try to craft and I try to make it look good, and I try to I think really deeply when I make those posts. It's what this American Girl doll, what student media organization this American Girl doll is part of. I think of that very deeply. I'm what would this American Girl doll, based on their history and their book, what would they actually enjoy? Mm-hmm. And I put that in there. So I definitely have to use a lot of experience and knowledge of both American Girl dolls and they have lore. If you didn't know this, American Girl dolls have lore.
It's a whole world.
It's a whole world. It's a universe. The American Girl doll cinematic universe, and then also knowledge of I just AU students that I know, and when it comes to certain organizations, I'm I know the type of person that's in that organization. I met people in this major, and this doll is really like this person in this major, or this doll's interests would line up well with this program, whatever.
That's so cool. It's that's just become a whole verse that you can use. That's awesome. And she did shout out Sarah Mankyfish when she was in New York Intensive with an American Girl doll that looked similar to her. Yeah. And in that moment I was okay, yeah, we definitely have to have you on the podcast, because you realize the impact of it a little bit more, people it's reaching, and it's just so fun. I know people at our department are what is this page? We want to learn more about it.
I was so happy that when you said that Sarah Mankyfish saw that. So Mankyfish, if you're listening, love you, miss you.
That's awesome. So, okay, let's move on. Film and Media Arts, junior. What's your plan, if any, after graduation, or kind of what do you hope the path is going to be?
I have two kind of things I'm interested in. I don't want to go directly into film production. I've learned that it's just not for me. I think it's very physically draining. And also, you have to be really committed to it. I don't want to live in LA. So I have decided that's not a path that I really see as viable for me, but I would love to go into, some form of marketing and publicity, promotion, social media use, graphic design. But I also love creative development. I love coming up with ideas and I love developing those ideas. So right now, I'm just looking at different creative industries. I'm really interested in the music industry. I'm really interested in like working film and television adjacent, maybe in like, the more marketing and creative development side rather than the actual physical production side. I mean, I'm a creative writing minor, so I really love the publishing industry. So, I'm just like seeing where this world takes me.
Absolutely.
But and this could be completely different by May 2024. But right now I'm thinking I'm an ideas person and
creative, clearly. Yeah.
Whatever that means for my job. It means for my job.
And then we kind of touched on this. I'm going to make you answer it again. So is there anything at AU so far at SOC where you've taken that class and you've been like, okay, now I know this is not what I want to do? And kind of a follow-up to that in a more general sense is, how has your experience at SOC kind of helped you figure out what you want and what you don't want to do?
Yeah, that's a good question. One thing I am grateful about with the Film and Media Arts program is you do get a very, in like SOC in general, I think you do get a very broad, kind of overlay of like what you're taking. It's not just like you're taking pure production classes or pure film studies classes. And you also have to have a minor, so you have to explore interests outside of that. And what I've discovered is, I already was touched on this, I don't think I can do the physical end of production. It's just, I was saying this before, but television direction. When I was doing in Sarah Mankey's class, I was like, I am going to have a breakdown in this class.
Kind of go into like what you had to do in class?
I would highly recommend this class. This is one of the most like rewarding classes I've taken at AU. Television studio production with Sarah Mankey. You create a game show, a live game show that you record in the fishbowl, and you go through every single role that you can have in a television production studio. And you also usually do products on the side. Like we worked with NBC down the road to make commercial bits for them. My group did one on dog parks around DC and just going to different dog parks.
Yeah.
And, you work from pre to post-production, you do everything. But yeah, that exact directing inside a TV studio, live TV studio, you're telling the cameras what to do. You're telling the talent what to do. You're working with like 20 moving pieces at once. So if you're a person who likes like doing 20 things at once,
doing 20 things at once
under pressure and a time constraint, then it's for you. Another class I took last semester was television, running the episodic television show with John Weiskopf. That was also a completely rewarding experience in class. I love that. I think even like if I don't go into like the writing end of things, I think it gives me a really good, strong basis for other things and other creative things because I had to come up with stories and I had to write them and I had to edit them and workshop them. So I think that gives me really good skills in terms of, just like creative development and also just like organization and so on and so forth. Also, John Weiskopf is just a really interesting professor to have. I'm just going to keep on shouting out AU professors.
That's great. That's what we love here. I had John Weiskopf actually as one of my first semester as a grad student.
He's such an interesting man.
He's very interesting, just such a good writing professor.
I had him at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I had him at, I think, 8 o'clock at night, actually. It was a night class.
And I would always start off my day with a hymn, like, what story am I going to hear today? I think taking any photography class in SOC is definitely like worth it, especially if you get Lena.
Did you do a lot of darkroom work?
I did a lot of darkroom work. You spend so much time. Mm-hmm. You spend hours a week, but it is so fulfilling. And I created so much skills because I think no matter like what you kind of go into in the creative industry, photography is a skill that they look for. Mm-hmm. So even if I go into like, marketing or social media, that's a good skill to have. It's also taught me, how to use my visual eye better, and just like I think the community that is created by just like upstairs in like the photo lab is so good.
Yeah,
with Lena and Sean. Have you had Sean on?
I have not had Sean on. We had Lena on, and our next is Sean, but we wanted to spread them out a little bit. Do you feel like working with that kind of darkroom and a lot of manual things hands-on, that you as a film student understood like composition better?
Yes, I am definitely a hands-on learner. So those have been my favorite classes at AU, where I really get to, work hands-on. Like where class I think have fallen off for me is like if it's like pure lecture, or if it's supposed to be hands-on and it doesn't end up being hands-on.
Yeah, it's like a little more theoretical.
And like I do love some theory-based classes, but like theory-based classes where it's like, a good discussion. So like I'm in digital media and culture right now, and I'm really enjoying that. But that is what we discuss so much, and we discuss the history of like media and communication, and it's like, and the culture and how it relates to like, the systems of the world and politics. And I'm like, for some people this would be so boring. Like I tell it to my parents and they're like, that sounds so boring. I'm like, boring? I'm having a blast.
Yeah. That's good.
Tell me.
You know what you like.
What would Marx think about the internet?
That's awesome. I love that. And I'm going to ask, so it's 2023. Safe to assume you started college 2020.
Yes.
During a pandemic.
Yes.
How was that? And that could be really any answer you're comfortable sharing, but
it was rough.
Yeah.
It was rough. I'm not gonna like sugarcoat it. It was really hard. I think starting college though was easier than ending high school in a pandemic.
Okay.
Like I have really weird, like, like the stuck in high school nightmares. I have those, but they're like weirder because I didn't properly graduate.
Right. There was like no closure.
So like, I have like dreams and it'll be like, you actually didn't complete high school. And I'm like, yes, I did. I am in my 3rd year of college. Let me out. I'm 21 years old.
Oh my gosh. I didn't think about that. Yeah.
But no, I think it was interesting. I think one of the things that got kind of screwy was the hands-on aspect, because obviously you couldn't be as hands-on. You couldn't have a professor over your shoulder. Freshman year, I guess the one benefit is that freshman year has a lot of foundation courses, so they don't require as much hands work as when you get into like physical production classes sophomore year. But it definitely also though made you adapt, and I think it gave me like better digital communication skills, because I had to learn how to use those, and I had to learn how to like even just when it comes to more hard skills like Photoshop, Adobe Suite. I took Com 200, whatever the class is where you do Adobe Suites the entire class.
Com 200. Yeah.
And you normally do that in one of the labs with a professor over your shoulder the whole time, but since I had to do it on my own computer on my own time and just how to kind of like communicate through Zoom, I did have to learn a lot faster and how to do that, and had to experiment a lot on my own, so that built up those skills. I think a lot. I talked to a lot of people in departments I probably wouldn't have, because we were all in the same boat. So it wasn't like, one of my favorite things now is like the people you meet in classes. I think there's incredible people in my program, but you could interact with anyone. Like, anybody kind of had equal chance. So that was one of my favorite
I like that
parts.
And do you feel like there's like some skills that you're just catching up on now as a junior?
Yeah, I would say so. I think some of the more like, what I was saying, like physical production skills, I'm just catching up on now as a junior. I think even just operating a camera is something, because like you can operate, a regular, camera you can hold very easily with your hands, teach yourself that. But I personally don't have access to a Z whatever
150, yeah
at home. These like thousands upon thousands of dollars 40-pound cameras that we use. So while I've gotten more used to using those now, there was definitely a delay there,
but we're here now, and
I do think it could be worse. So like if I was like a sophomore or junior at the time, I think I probably would have had a worse learning curve.
Interesting. Okay, why do you say that?
Because those are the years where you're like doing like the most amount of hands-on work.
Yeah.
And like you can do Photoshop on your computer. You can like film a little, if you want to film a little short film, you can do that at your house with a regular camera, or even like a phone if you need to. But actually like doing like the hard like in studio things, or doing the photography, like black and white photography and the lab for film photography, those are like really great experiences and really telling experiences. And if you're not in person to do those, it can be very
Did you
challenging.
do the darkroom stuff where you could like lighten the picture and darken the picture with the
burning and dodging?
The first time I did that, I was amazed. I was like, what is this sorcery?
It did take me a really long time to learn how to do that properly. I had to be like, Sean.
It's tough. It's a tough skill, but once you get it down, you just all of a sudden understand lighting and composition and exposure. And
if you're
all these
struggling
things.
to do that and you're in the studio, somebody on the photo staff will help you. The photo staff, also nice. If you're in a photo class right now and you're scared, talk to them. They're nice.
I love this shout out. We'll go back to your the American Girl doll page and a lot of the, let's say, issues on campus that you've brought up. If there's anything activism wise that you want to bring awareness to, or issues that you want people to know about, and you've used that page as a platform, how has the response from the students been? How has that back and forth been?
I think it has been, really good. I think still to this day, I think my most shared post and also like maybe most liked post was from the start of the school year when the staff union was on strike. Because I made a post like, it's like raising awareness for it. And I think it was just like different. I think it was just like what the American U Girl dolls are supporting right now. And it was all of them being like the staff union strike.
That's great.
And the response to that was really good. I think it got the word out pretty well. Whoever runs the staff union account and me still interact with each other's posts.
Oh, really? That's
yes.
awesome.
And they're great. I love to do anything that I can to support the staff and faculty here at AU because, they keep the world going around. And some of the best people you can make relationships with at the school. But there's just other issues where I might necessarily make a post dedicated to it, but I'll make a story because there are so many things at AU that as much as I love this school, we can improve upon.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm given this platform that has many eyes that aren't going to be on I can post about it. I can and will post about it on my normal my personal Instagram account, but it's not the same audience.
Right.
And it's not as interactive as an audience.
Right.
So if I have the chance to bring awareness to a certain issue, then I'm going to do that. And I think the response is usually pretty good because sometimes it's a matter of AU students just you get busy. You might not be aware of certain issues.
That's awesome.
And having a quick little fun way of someone explaining it to you makes it easier.
I was going to say this vehicle for humor and fun is a good way, almost and maybe that's a good follow-up question is, do you think universities can kind of benefit from having that type of page linked to their brand only because it's this just fun, engaging way to kind of get in touch with their students that might not maybe visit these more official pages or things that are in maybe a more official language, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I do think that universities can benefit from it because if you talk to 20-somethings how 20-somethings talk to each other in a casual conversation, that's going to, I think, kind of hit more. Or if you make something that feels memorable and isn't the same infographic. I mean, obviously there's a time and a place for just basic Canva infographics. I run my the music library's Instagram as well, so I make those.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think it can allow people to know if they'll fit in kind of at the school, and know if it's something that they would want to do. And if it is something they'd fit into, that's a great thing for the university because they're attracting those students, and they're also having students learn about different resources they offer, which can make their experience at the university more enjoyable in a fun, humorous way.
Okay, so last question
Oh
we'll
my
leave
God.
you with. Do you have any SOC alumni that have inspired you to come to AU?
I did definitely go through the alumni list before I committed to AU though, and was Judge Judy.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot that you would not expect. It's actually pretty funny.
But yeah, I don't think there's one person, I think alumni-wise, that stood out to me when I was applying to AU. I just think there's a lot of cool people, especially professors that I'm you went to the school, you're doing cool things.
Yeah.
And and other people. And this podcast I think is great for that. It shows people more than just what shows up when you Google alumni.
That's our goal.
So I really appreciate that.
I always tell students, I'm just just have a conversation with your professors, and you'll probably be really surprised to learn that they do a lot more than just teach in the classroom. So
yeah, no, so like they can connect you to cool people too, like past alumni who are doing cool things.
Absolutely.
I know we're gonna bring up Sarah Makey-Fish again. She had us do this thing for one of our assignments in the class where we had to contact somebody in a professional position that we would want one day.
Okay.
And some of the people that we contacted were alumni, and she could hit us up with alumni, and then like I'm pretty sure one day she had us call like some alumni who works out in LA now, and just like on the phone we're talking to them. Yeah, no, I reached out to a few people, and they'll respond to you if you're like, I'm doing this for a class project, I just want to know, I think your job's really interesting.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be told that their job is interesting, like come on. So
that's true.
yeah, so I talked to somebody from NPR.
Awesome.
She was very nice. And then she told me to give her a shout out if I ever applied for an internship, and then the NPR internship program got shut down for the summer. But that's fine.
I was gonna say, I was like, did you apply?
I also John Weiskopf, like even he knows people like
Yep.
Henry Winkler. He's friends with Henry Winkler, and my brain just died on that when thinking about that.
Oh my God, Henry. I'm like, Henry.
You don't think people here might have some of the same connections as people out in LA, but they've all worked out there. They all worked with people. It's a small industry once you get into creative industries. Truly, everybody knows people. So even if you don't think your professor knows anyone, they know people.
Yep.
They know people. Henry Winkler was so cool to talk to. I didn't tell anybody I was doing this. So I just like sent a picture of like the Zoom chat to like my parents, and they're like, the Fonz.
Yeah, they're probably like, I was gonna say, everyone has different references to him, which is great. That's awesome. Yeah,
so I think
good advice.
That's just me going back to connect with your professors.
Yep.
Connect with your fellow SOC students.
Awesome.
Everybody kind of wants different but similar things, and everyone wants to help each other. Even if you don't necessarily feel like, even if you don't feel, I think, supported by AU as a whole, there are people at this school who will care deeply for you.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great note to end on, honestly. Lindsey, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to drop the Instagram page in the description. Please follow it, like the post, everything. Engage. Media in the Mix as well. You can find us through AUSOC. If you want to listen to this podcast, you can go to Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We are a video podcast on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. And if you want to donate to SOC, go to giving.alumni.edu. And that's a wrap.